What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Dead Noise. I'm Chris, and thanks to the power of Zoom, I have the pleasure of talking with Mr. Chase Mansfield, the rhythm guitarist and lead vocalist of the Texas-based band Ravens Banquet. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
So far, so good. First interview of 2025, so I'm very excited. So, first things first, in December, you released your latest single. If I'm not mistaken, it was your sixth single, In the Dark. It's probably your heaviest single as far as what's out by now.
Mm.
How has the reaction been to it so far?
It's been really good so far. We definitely put in a lot of work to get that one to come out the way it did. We've got other songs like Weightless, which are, if you've taken a listen to it, it's very melodic. It's a longer song, more melodic, more about the music side of stuff. And this one was definitely about energy. I wanted to show off that, we can go from being this, but we also have like this heavy, real heavy inspired kind of music that we like to play personally. We're very influenced by a lot of big heavier bands. Me personally, I'm into like Tremonti, Alter Bridge, a lot of that fast stuff, but still a lot of melodies and awesome vocals and just a really good dynamic. So we put a lot of work into this one.
I'm glad you mentioned the energy and the melody because what I've noticed with previous singles, especially Weightless, is that you have a very diverse sound that's very at sometimes you can be heavy, but then once the choruses kick in or once the vocals in general kick in, it's very melodic and laid back, and there's a really cool dichotomy between the two tones. How did
Yeah.
it feel to kind of have a concentrated, I don't want to say it like a one sound for this one single, but it's kind of straightforward, it's really heavy, it's very energetic. What was the feeling like while creating that song?
It was nice being able to kind of get that out because we had like we have songs that are, like I said earlier, they're not all super heavy, but it felt really good to finally get something out where it's like, okay, it's a little bit, and it was challenging at the time when we were making it because at the time I wasn't able to pick as fast. Like the idea was in my head, but I wasn't actually able to perform it yet. So it took some time to actually be able to perform it and put the vocals on it and figure it all out. But while creating it, it was a blast having fun creating that one because it was like we're not trying to make something super long. We're not trying to focus on one particular thing. We just wanted there to be a lot of energy, and we wanted there to be like this just fast, real heavy kind of, get your blood pumping, get everybody moving, maybe a mosh pit if we're lucky. So it was a lot of fun, and it was just a good time making that one. It felt awesome.
Now, as far as the live show goes, I'm sure you've probably played this song live a few times before it was released. Is this the type of song that you would start your set with, or is this something that you save for the end?
This is a song that we usually save to be the last one. We usually start our sets off with "Smoke and Mirrors," and we'll open up with that one, and we'll go through the set, and then we'll go through some of the softer songs towards the middle, and to get everybody kind of back in just before we leave, just to put an exclamation point on everything. We end it off with "In the Dark" and get everybody all riled back up again for the next band. So it's usually at the end of our sets.
That's a really good strategy. I really like that.
Yeah.
Honestly, those are probably out of the I want to say out of the six singles that are out right now, I think my favorites because it's I'm very indecisive as an individual, but I love In the Dark and I love Weightless and Smoke and Mirrors. Those are probably my top three. Um, I do want to ask about your influences because, like you said, you're really into Tremonti and Alter Bridge,
Yeah.
Creed. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but with your voice, I don't know if you listen to this band, so this is a compliment just in case it doesn't come off that way. But your voice really reminds me of Nate from Finch. Um, and I don't know if that's an influence, like consciously, if you know that band.
Yeah, I don't think I may have heard the name. I don't believe I've actually ever listened to any of that music. But I did the name sounds familiar, but I don't think I've heard one of their songs. But I'm also one of those people who like I'll hear a song, but I might not know the name of it. So there's
Oh,
potential. So there's potential that I've probably heard a song of theirs and just not known the name of it or not looked at like, who performed it. But off the top of my head, I can't say I do. But I will probably after this, I will probably go and check them out and listen to them just so I can be like, oh God, yeah, no, I sound exactly like that guy. Or man, what is he thinking? Just
It might be the latter. I'm
yeah,
kind of out there with my ideas, but yeah, they're kind of an underrated like early 2000s post-hardcore band. Like a lot of people know like some a couple of their songs, but they don't know it's them, if that makes sense.
yeah,
Um but yeah, that was one of the first things that stuck out to me, especially with your harsh vocals. I was like, wait a minute. And it led me down this whole rabbit hole of re-listening to Finch, and it was a lot of fun for me anyway. Um, I don't know if people know this, but the band is kind of a family endeavor in a way. Could you talk about the other members of the band and how you all know each other?
yeah. So Brandon and I are brothers biologically, not well, but in both biologically and feeling wise. Me and Brandon are brothers. Brandon is our drummer. He's been a drummer since I've been a guitarist and a singer. We started off in a band called Quarantine several years before quarantine, like before it was even a thing. We were called Quarantine with like teenagers, so it was like TEEN. And we started in that band, and that's where Johnny came into the picture, our lead guitar player. Is we met him in that band, and we had been in that band for several, maybe 5 or 6 years, with several different vocalists. Um, and then it ended up just the other vocalist didn't work out, and they went, okay, well, it's your turn, kid. Figure it out. Learn how to sing. And so then I learned how to sing, and then I had been the vocalist for that one, and then COVID hit. Couldn't the band just kind of everybody had their own ideas of what they wanted to do, fell apart. About a year, just like literally fell apart just before summer. Summer went by, didn't talk to each other, and me and my brother were still debating. We're like, well, we still want to, keep going as musicians, and now we have to put a new band back together. And we had already kind of started building a name for ourselves, so we were kind of starting from scratch again. And then we contacted Johnny, and Johnny was like, "Yeah, no, I still want to hang out, and I still want to play guitar." And we brought him in, and in the time that quarantine was down and Raven's Banquet wasn't a thing yet, he had been jamming with our now bassist Kaiser, and we brought him in, and he just fit perfectly with everybody, and he was. He's into a lot of the progressive stuff. And so he was able to kind of throw in something that we hadn't had before, and that's kind of how the band was formed, and that was formed about 2 years ago, and we've just been going at it ever since, almost every day, almost, during the week.
I'm really glad you mentioned quarantine because in my research for this interview, I saw that you were in a band called Quarantine, and I was wondering if it was the same Quarantine that I had listened to. Um, because the album that I heard was called After the Fall, I
Oh,
believe. And I was wondering if that was the right one.
yeah, that's it. That's it. So, you know, uh, not super happy about that album. I always I was younger at the time. I don't even know. I may have been 15, 16 when we recorded that.
Mm.
Um, and at the time, our lead vocalist, our second lead vocalist that we had was her name was Maddie, and she was the main vocalist of the band. I would just fill in, with some songs, and some of those on that album I've done. Not super proud of it. Please don't listen to it. That kid's dead. He doesn't exist anymore. He's gotten way better. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's the album that we first got out. We got it on like radio play, and I remember we were, just getting into, I think we were just in high school when that album came out, and our dad would pull up in like this lifted truck, and he'd be blaring it on the radio. Look at my kids. They're on the radio. And so it was a lot of fun. So the making of the album was fun. All like I said, I wasn't always super happy with how it turned out, but you got to start somewhere. You just got to build upon that.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely understand what that's like too, because another lifetime ago, I used to be an MMA podcaster, and that was like my beginning, like my origin story into kind of doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah,
And I don't do it anymore, and I'm glad I don't because like I'm not super proud of it, but like I'm glad I did it because it got me to where I am with this. So I completely understand where you're coming from with that. Um,
yeah,
yeah, I was just so curious because I listened to that album. I'm like, wow, that sounds completely different than Raven's Banquet. But like,
yeah.
you can kind of hear certain parallels in a way, but
Mm.
also they're still polar opposites. So I'm kind of curious how the musical evolution occurred. Was it just from getting more mature as musicians and like getting different people together, or can you not really pin down like what caused it?
I would say it was at the time with quarantine, the band. It was we had only had so many originals, so we did a lot of covers. And we would do like 3 hour sets, and you'd have like maybe 10 originals, and the rest of them were covers. So a lot of that music was based off of the covers that we played, and a lot of more of the classic rock. And I always wanted to do more. And then as I grew older, and I think as everybody else grew older, we also got into some more, heavier stuff and progressed into some uh, more difficult kind of music to play. Um, and we found that as like a common interest of like, yeah, well, we want to do this kind of music now. We don't want to be that band anymore. That was good stuff and that was fun and we had our time. But now we want to take it to the next level. We want to be, we want to put ourselves out there and show people what we can do and that we can be more than just that. So I think for everybody, it was just a growth. Everybody's growing up and getting through high school and life stuff. You know. So,
Yep.
and I think that contributed to most of it. And then and plus everybody just getting better as musicians. Really. Like everybody just like over time just got so much better. Johnny has always been a great guitar player. Even when he was in the quarantine, he was an amazing guitar player. And I said this on the podcast last night is it's like having a mini Mark Tremonti in your band. It really is. It's like having Mark in my band. And he plays that fast. He's very precise. He's gonna do the solo the same every time. It's astounding. It's awesome to watch. Everybody that comes to see the show, like we try and always put on a great show, and then they see Johnny and they see his consistency and how fast he's playing and singing at the same time for backups. It's great you know
Wow.
so a lot of it just came from growing up and just experiences and just working at it.
That makes a lot of sense. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but this is another Texas band. They're from Tyler, Texas, I believe. They're called Rocket Queen, Rocket with two T's. They started out as like a kind of alternative, like pop punk, early 2000s pop punk band, but then later on, they kind of got into the more straightforward hard rock direction and it was kind of the same type of shift. It's like just getting older, getting better as musicians. That's kind of what that reminds me of. And I didn't know if that was kind of number one. I didn't know if you were familiar with them just because they're another Texas band. I know the whole state of Texas is like gigantic in three different territories.
Oh
Um,
gosh, yeah.
but the music scene in Texas is just so rich with talent. You've got you guys, you've got Post Profit, Rocket Queen, Kingdom Collapse. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So I didn't know if your experience growing up in a scene like that kind of helped foster like more technical advancement on your instruments or just as
So
musicians in general.
yeah, no, there's a lot of great bands here in San Antonio and across Texas that we've met up, and there's people that we're trying to get together more with because we're like, dude, you guys are good and we like love your music as much as like I mean we've been around for a while. You know what I mean? We've seen bands come and we've seen them go, and you know we've seen a lot of people that have put a lot of work into it. It just didn't work out, or but the music scene is very rich. There are a lot of bands that you come across. I think I came across a band actually today. I was listening. I got recommended on Spotify an album. I can't remember the band's name off the top of my head because that's the worst thing for me is I will remember the lyrics to the songs, but
Yep.
people's names I just out of my head. I can't remember them for the life of me. But I was listening to a band earlier this morning that I didn't know was out of Texas, and then I don't remember the band's name, but they have a song called "Baptized in the Rio Grande," and I don't remember the exact name of the band, but they were a big Texas band several years ago. Um, and everybody's different, you know what I mean? You got the kind of country rock, hard rock, metalcore, screamo. It's very vast in how many like genres there really are when you get into the community. I know down here in San Antonio, it's very big into the metal and screaming, stuff. And that's not necessarily my thing, but
Mhm.
that's a lot of people's things. I respect it. I've been to those shows and they're packed. It's a great community. Um, so I think everybody kind of feeds off one another and we all help each other out. We're always trying to help our friends, like, hey, like, let's do a show with you guys down here. Let's do a show down there. We'll have you guys come up for this one, or we try and make it like a very good community where it's not like we're like, oh no, you don't get on our show or we want to, you know what I mean? We're trying to build everybody up because that's what you got to do. It's very difficult in, playing music. It is. It's a hard community to get into. There's artists every day. You know what I mean? And I've heard this several times, but I think there's like 100,000 new songs put out every day on Spotify.
That's
So that's a
crazy.
100,000 new songs every day. So it's difficult to be a musician. So instead of trying to put somebody else down, build them up, help each other out, go to a show, have a drink. You know what I mean? Make friends because when you do that, you're going to be viewed differently. You're going to be viewed, as a better person. People are going to want to come to your shows because they know who you are and they know like, oh, he's not this kind of guy who's just kind of a dick and is like, he doesn't care about the community, he just cares about himself. If you go and actually participate in your community and you try and build it up and be there, it will get you a long way. It really does.
I'm really glad you said that because I feel the exact same way. Honestly, the last interview I did with a rapper who's making a rock album, Doobie, he said a lot of the same things, and I completely agree with it because it's like you said, 100,000 new songs every single day. It's really hard to be a musician these days. It's really easy in the sense that anyone can get their music out there and that anyone can
Yeah.
make music now, but to get noticed and to get notoriety is just so much harder. So being in a saturated local scene is a blessing and a curse because like a lot of people can probably feel competitive trying to make it if that makes sense, and it
Oh yeah.
kind of rubs people the wrong way because they're like trying to further their careers and they're so focused on like making their own next steps they kind of lose sight of what's around them. And I feel like when you kind of just relax and like get familiar with everybody and realize we're all doing the same stuff. Whether you're a musician or this also goes for photographers, content creators, anyone in the music industry, really.
Yeah.
It's like we're all trying to do the same thing. Let's build each other up. Let's like, I don't know. I ditto to everything you said.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, it's a big thing, man. I've been to shows like, where people the thing that I see a lot, not a lot, but I see a decent amount of times down here is you'll go to a show and like the first band or the first two bands will have like a really good audience and it's a great show. And then like after those bands are gone, the entire crowd leaves, because the band left and they don't and nobody's sticking around to actually support each other. And so we've been over the past few years trying to, we've got friends in Live in Dark Days. We're getting in with Kingdom Collapse and starting to hang out with them a little bit more. We've been to several of their shows. Some friends of ours in West Creek, and we all try and support each other, and we stay at their shows. And even if we're not even on the bill, we come out to their shows to support them, and they do the same thing for us. So doing that helps build up the community. It makes the scene better. It makes people want to come out, and it helps everybody. It helps you get good content because there's people actually in the crowd. It's a very big thing to have that community. If you don't have that community, it just makes it hard on everybody. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, like you said, it's like you have people at the shows, but another thing is that they're actually excited to be there. Like they're actively supporting you. And yeah, I think it's a great thing just to put an emphasis on community because a lot of people kind of it's like support local music, but they don't some people lose sight of the community aspect of it.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think that's a great thing. And speaking of Kingdom Collapse, I do want to give a shout out to Aaron Smith, for putting
yeah.
this interview together because he is, I, am I remembering right? He's your manager.
Yeah, we just started working with him. He's starting to help us out, getting some shows set up for this year and getting us, obviously getting us in contact. And so he's starting to help us out, like once again, being part of that community and trying to, build us up rather than just being like, oh, here's an upcoming band. Let's not help them out. Let's just let them figure it out and they'll, and they'll make it or they won't. So he's been helping us out a little bit.
He's a really solid dude. From my limited interactions with him, I've always gotten good impressions from him. He's always come off really genuine. So
Yeah.
he definitely seems like a really good guy to have in your corner for sure.
Yeah, so we've been talking with him for a little bit now, and he's been really cool. We've had several meetings and done several things, and we went out to a show of his not too long ago. He was playing with our friends in Living Dark Days,
Hmm.
and they were playing at a joint over here called Sam's Burger Joint. It's a
Hmm.
pretty well-known place down here in San Antonio, and we saw their show and we watched the crowd and everything like that, and we talked to him a little bit after the show, and he was so real cool. He's a real good dude, and like you said, he comes off very genuine. He is. So like he'll tell you if it, I don't really, I don't think you got it, but or he'll tell you, yeah, no, dude, you're really talented. He's not gonna just like push you up to push you up.
Yeah.
But he's also not like just gonna go, oh yeah, no, you completely suck. You know what I mean? Like but it's a community of like, well, here's some things I think that maybe you need to work on, or I know I'm like that sometimes with the guys and with some of our friends. Is like they'll ask me for my opinion. It's hard because it's like as musicians, you don't really want to give each other's opinions because what you might like is different than what this other person might like, and it's all
Mhm.
interpretation. That's what music is. It's a very big thing of just interpretation you know so to me it's one of those things where it's like you want to be honest all the time but you can't really be honest all the time because it's like, well, I like it, or well, I don't like it, but I see that you have this major crowd, obviously they like it, so keep doing what you're doing.
I was never like a rock musician. I have an understanding of musical fundamentals and stuff, but like being in a group setting like that, I can't imagine like the eggshells that you might have to walk on when it comes to giving feedback or putting ideas out there just because you don't really know what the vibe is. But yeah, that's a really good point. But you guys, as we start 2025 and kick things off, you guys have a lot of momentum coming into it because you released four, maybe five new singles in 2024, but you also had a spot in the Rocklahoma festival. What was that experience like for you guys to play in front of a crowd like that?
That was an amazing experience. It was definitely, I mean, it's our very first like major, United States held festival. And so for me, it was an amazing time. We got there, I think the Thursday night, it was a whole 3-day event from Friday to Sunday. We were on the campgrounds having a good time, visiting people's tents and booths and just having just fantastic. You know what I mean? It was also our first time being there as just patrons, you know what I mean? Just to actually be there and enjoy it. So everybody had a fantastic time, and that crowd was awesome. They all loved us. They were super energetic. They felt it. And it was early in the morning. We think we played around like 11 in the morning.
Oh
We
wow.
were helping to kick off the last day, and it had been rainy like a day prior, and it literally completely just washed a lot of people out. And so everybody came back for that last day and we were getting them all hyped and pumped up. And it was a great time, man. It really was a great crowd, great time. And I hope that we get back there sometime soon.
It sounds like you made a really good first impression with both them and the audience in general. Yeah, I remember watching a couple interviews from that festival with you guys, and I was very, very impressed by how well received you guys seemed to be at that show.
So yeah, I was also very impressed because they had they have an actual Rocklahoma app so that you can see what times the bands are playing, and it actually tells you like 500 people are reserved to come see this band or whatever.
Wow.
Right. And so so they had like a whole thing for it, and I think we had like for never playing in Oklahoma at all. we had 125, 26 people, maybe even more, that had just to reserved on the app to come see us. But I know that crowd was probably, several, maybe 150, 170 people there, that early. And like I said, man, they were just all fun. Everybody was enjoying it. Everybody was having a good time, and it. Yeah, God, I'm definitely gonna remember that. And for Christmas, I haven't said this, but for Christmas, I went to a company called Displate, and because at Rocklahoma they didn't sell any like official posters, so I went to this company called Displate, and I got every band member a custom made like the poster that they and the flyer that they posted on for everything. I got that made into an actual metal poster that they could hang up on the wall as like a
Oh,
token for everybody. Because it was a proud moment. I was happy. I was proud of everybody. I was proud of how much work we put into it and it paying off so well, and helping us get that momentum. Because I mean, we put in about 4 hours a day leading up to this. We put about 4 hours a day, 4 to 5 days a week. You know what I mean? And that's just on the practicing part alone. You know what I mean? Making sure that the songs sounded good, that they're solidified. We wanted to, the stage presence and everything. You know, Outside of that, we were working on the social media and all the stuff that you have to do to promote it. But we put a lot of time and a lot of effort into making sure that that show was going to be the show. Like if we were going to have a time to make an appearance and to show yourself off, it was going to be at this show, and we knew it. We were not going to take that for granted. We didn't want to have any ifs, ands, or like buts of like, well, we should have done this, we could have done that. So it was. I was very proud of everybody at that show.
yeah, it definitely sounds like it was your guys' coming out party. Um, Now how does the preparation that went into that set, how does that compare to like the shows you do around your local area?
Um, I would say the preparation that went into it is we put a lot of time into that. We did most of just the originals. We wanted to show off the bands, not like just being able to do a cover. I mean, we do a cover of One Day Remains that we also have released. That was the first thing we released.
Hmm.
And so we do a cover of One Day Remains, and we did that at the show. And then the rest of the show was really, I believe, just originals. We wanted to show off all the different sides of us that we have. And Now, local shows, depending on how long the set is, because we only had 30 minutes at Rocklahoma,
Hmm.
depending if we're doing a 30 to 45-minute set, I'll add, maybe another cover or another original because we've been working on some new stuff. And so we're kind of trying some stuff out. We're going into the studio not this Friday, but next Friday, and we're going to be recording two new songs that we kind of performed live, like maybe once or twice, and received pretty well. So we're like, okay, yeah, those sound good. They sound like they're pretty much in the wraps and done. Um, so I would say it was just more about originals rather than trying to show off covers. You know what I mean? Wanted to show off who we are, not who we can be. You know
Mm,
what I mean?
that's a good way of putting it. Um, Now to going to the point of new music, but before we get to that, just as 2025 really gets kicked off, are there any goals that you guys as a band have set for this year, or are you kind of just taking it as it comes?
We've got several goals set. I think our biggest goal right now is to get out a little bit more regionally, because for the longest amount of time we've just been playing in San Antonio. We've played several shows. I mean, this year alone, we traveled more than we have as like quarantine. Even the quarantine band, we've traveled more than that. And so we were obviously here in San Antonio. We were in Austin, Dallas, Houston, Biloxi, Mississippi, prior Oklahoma. So I think our thing is to get out a little bit more regionally across Texas, and I can't name the exact shows, but we already have some shows booked in Florida, um, and another one later in the year in Oklahoma that will be announced at some point within maybe the next few weeks or next month. So we're really excited to share those ones. But not everybody's in San Antonio, and we know that. And so there's only so many times that you can play in San Antonio or just in one place before everybody's just like, okay, we'll just see them next month. You know what I mean? We're just not going to go out to the show. So it's definitely to gain some more of that regional fan base and to have, building communities within other communities. You know what I mean? And
Oh yeah.
getting more friends in other cities like, San Angelo or Houston, Dallas. We've got several bands that we've even met from like Arizona that we've talked to. And we may try and get out there this year. Not 100% sure, but we'll see what the year takes us, man. So, but we have a lot of stuff planned.
That's really good. I'm kind of in a sense, I kind of just take every year as it comes, but the longer I've been doing this, I've kind of gotten to the point where I can kind of write down a few goals. So that's really cool to hear. For any of my listeners, viewers, whatever you want to call them, who, if they're not familiar with your work, what is there like one concrete takeaway that you want them to get from checking out your music and getting to know you guys as musicians?
I think the most concrete thing I think is consistency. Is we do try and be consistent, and currently the past few weeks I have been working on writing just some new material for the band. Not all of it sounds exactly. It's a little outside of our comfort zone, with the sound, but we still want the consistency of it being good and it's still like really pushing into your feelings and wanting to get you, you know to grab you in that sense. So I think in the consistency part is where I'd like to have the most for people to know is like we're not trying to just be like all these different things. We just have variations of our sound, but we all try and have a still consistent feel with the music. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, you have a very consistent sound, and you guys seem to have honed on that sound very early in your careers. I mean, as of now, there's only 6 singles out, but you can already tell you have a very clear sonic identity. And that was something that I also wanted to ask you is when it comes to making sure that you don't write the same song twice in a way, how do you manage to stay so consistent without falling into the trap of becoming formulaic?
It's a little hard sometimes. Sometimes I'll be having an idea and I'm like, oh, I'm following the pattern kind of what this other song is. But obviously we have 4 people in the band, so we all kind of catch on to it real quick. Um, and sometimes we like having that formula a little bit because people like to hear that. People like consistency in a way like that. Not all the time, but they do like having that consistent, like, oh, I know, like I can anticipate what's kind of coming up, and then like when it does hit, if it doesn't hit exactly, it doesn't necessarily put them off, but it might just be different to them. Um, but when it comes to writing and trying not to make it too consistent, where it's like, verse, chorus, da 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 da. Um, Luckily having everybody in the band and everybody kind of recognizing that and having their own ideas, it helps out a lot. um like I know I've got several ideas. One of these ones that I got is about like a 5-minute song, probably one of our longest songs that we've written so far.
Hmm.
And I'm really trying to break up from not too much from what we've already done, but wanting to give it a different feel and adding some different flavor into what we have. So I think everybody kind of keeps each other in track of like, well, we don't want to be too consistent in like we don't want to just make the same song every single time, but we want to make something that people are going to want to listen to and that they're going to find enjoyable and will connect them. That's my biggest thing is always trying to whenever I'm writing is like not only do the vocals hit, but does the pattern of the song in terms of the way everything's coming in, is it flowing properly, is it taking you on a journey both emotionally and just listening to it.
We have arrived to my favorite part of every interview, and that is a speed round. So I've got 5 questions. We can keep it rapid fire. If you want to elaborate, you can. The first question, your favorite song to play live.
Right now is we've been practicing it for an upcoming show. But my favorite song to play live right now is Metalingus. We were doing Metalingus by Alter Bridge and we all learned it. We've been practicing it. So my favorite cover that we're doing right now is Metalingus. I think our favorite song live um, would probably be. Smoke and Mirrors. I've always really liked the flow of that song, and I always like starting off the set because everybody's just jumping and stuff. So I would say cover wise, it would be Metalingus, but uh, original wise, it would be Smoke and Mirrors.
The one band or artist that you want to collaborate with in the future.
I don't think they would collaborate with me, um, but I would have to say Alter Bridge or Tremonti. They're just amazing musicians. I think they're some of the best in the game, if not the best in the game. They're what I look up to in their consistency
Hmm.
is they are really consistent about their music, and it their formulas aren't always the exact same, but the songs are always at the same level and always sound great. And just any one of those songs on any of their albums can be the song of the album, is how I feel about them. So for me, I would hands down say Alter Bridge. Everybody else would probably have a different answer. I think Johnny would probably say Dream Theater. Brandon would
Hmm.
say Sleep Token, and I'm pretty sure Kaiser would say Polyphia. Or
Oh,
yeah,
I love that.
he's really into them.
The band, artist, or song that made you first want to become a musician.
I would say like Them Bones by Alice in Chains, and I think it was it's not Show Me How to Live. I mean, maybe it's Show Me How to Live by Soundgarden. Maybe that's Audio Slave. I always get the two mixed up. They always throw me off. I'm like, which one did what?
It's close enough.
Yeah.
Um, your favorite thing to do outside of music?
My favorite thing to do outside of music. I've got a lot of different hobbies.
I feel that.
Um, I would just say like for me, spending time with like my family or spending time with friends and just going out and having a good time, not getting too crazy, but that or maybe just sitting back and like playing a game or something like that, you know? Yeah. I think sometimes some of the ideas that I have are coming from like actually playing a game and like I'll hear a line or something. I'm like, that's a good idea. That's not a bad line, you know? Or it gets me thinking about something while I'm, so
Yeah, I mean, inspiration strikes in the weirdest places sometimes.
it does. It really does.
And the last one, this is always my favorite question. The song you wrote that means the most to you.
I think right now they would probably be different if we were having this conversation a few months ago. It would
Oh,
probably be different. It would probably be a different song. I'd say out of the best that's released right now, I would say I would probably say like maybe Darkness or Waitlist because they're just really good songs and I think that they flow very well and they're very emotional.
mhm.
Um, and but right now my favorite one is one that we have in the batch that like we haven't even fully started working out. Is so far what the vocals and the melodies and the whole song itself, it takes you on a journey that I think is really good and be kind of inspirational. It's kind of sad, but it's also kind of inspirational. Um, it's about a brief detail of it's about like you're not ready to go. You want to be there for the people around you. You know
Mm.
what I mean? That's as much as I'm going to say about it. But that would probably be my favorite one right now. But if it was back to like the ones that we have out, I would say it's probably Waitlist or Darkness.
Th Those are both solid choices, and if I wasn't excited enough for the new music already, I definitely am now. So I'll absolutely be on the lookout for that when the time comes. Um,
So
but that was everything I had for you this go around. Was there any closing message that you had to any Ravens Banquet fans watching?
I would say thank you guys for supporting us over these past 2 years. We we wouldn't be here without you guys. You guys supporting us is what helps us. It pushes us to do better. It pushes us to want to be there for you guys. And it goes back to that whole community thing. It helps us and it helps us get music to you. And I just love every one of you guys. Really, everybody in the Ravens Banquet community has been so helpful, and they've been there. And we definitely would not be here without you guys. So, just much thanks, much love, and I cannot wait to show everybody what we've got planned this year and everything that's going to be coming following it.
This was a lot of fun. I had a really fun time talking with you. It's really nice to meet
You too,
you.
man. It was, yeah,
I've
it was nice to meet you, man.
yeah, I love the music so far. Can't wait to hear more of it. And hopefully, I'm in North Carolina, so I don't know when the time will come, but I hope I get to see you live at some point.
So
Um,
hopefully within like maybe the next year or maybe the next 2 years, we'll start kind of varying out a little bit more up there. So we'll see what happens. You never know what's going to take you. You know, we might get picked up tomorrow, and then all of a sudden we're doing like a 5 year tour. You know,
hey, that's true. You never know.
hope.
But until the next time, thank you so much again for the time. This was a blast, and
Yeah,
I
thank you
can't
for
wait to
having me,
talk
man. I
again
appreciate it.
soon.
Yeah, thank you for
And
having me.
yep, and to everybody who watched this, thank you for watching. And until the next interview, stay tuned, stay scared, and I'll catch you later.